Welcome to the DotNetwork. On this episode of the DotNetwork, we talk about collegiate athletes and the compensation they wish to receive for the work that they do. Should they be paid? Should they not be paid? We'll discuss this today on this episode of the DotNetwork. Now, here's your host, Alex Dotson. What's up, everybody? Alex Dotson here, and welcome back to the DotNetwork. I apologize, it's been a while since I made my last podcast, but I am back and I guess better than ever. Now that I'm a little less busy, now I'm able to make another podcast for you guys, and I'm deciding to kind of change up the formula a little bit. Deciding to kind of change up things a little bit and make things maybe a little bit interesting for you guys. So generally in my past podcasts, I would focus on news regarding the Denver local teams as well as collegiate teams, the Cougars or BYU Cougars, Utah Utes, and generally I kind of focus on those things and just focus on that and the national news as well. But today I decided to focus on just one topic for today, one nationally known topic, and kind of just focus on that and kind of just divulge my thoughts into that one. So I hope you guys enjoy. Remember to, if you agree, disagree with whatever I say, you guys will feel free to leave a comment to let me know how you feel. My opinion not necessarily is the correct one or is the absolute end all be all truth. So I expect you guys to disagree with me. So if you do, please send a comment. If you guys agree, send a comment. Whatever, just send comments. Just discuss how you feel. I want this to be open, and I want to know how you guys feel about this. So, anyways, moving on to the topic. Today, I wanted to focus on something that has been recent in the news. It's been kind of controversial with regards to collegiate athletes and the money that they receive. Now, many of you, I'm sure, have your own personal opinion on it, and as well I'll share today as I have my own personal opinion on it. And I know it's become part of recent news, especially due to California recently signing into law in the next couple of years the ability for NCAA athletes to get paid, to receive money, or I guess to be able to receive money for their name, their image, and their likeness in endorsement deals, sponsorships, autograph signings, and other similar income opportunities. So any opportunity that an athlete could or potentially receive money for their image or likeness or whatnot, they would be able to receive money for that. So people have taken to the air, either publicly acclaiming this kind of this new deal, proclaiming that it's about time that they made this deal, or that they made this into law, while others have kind of come forward and said, well, I don't agree with that very much, and I don't understand why. And everybody has their own opinion on it, and I've kind of heard enough, and I've done my own research to kind of develop my own opinion on it, and I'm going to say my opinion is not going to be very popular. I still don't think collegiate athletes should get paid. Now, hold on, before you grab your pitchforks or your fire telling me that I'm a horrible person. I want to make this clear. I am not a collegiate athlete, so therefore I don't know the situation of every single college student athlete. Every single person has their own unique situation, and I completely understand that. However, I'm talking about this from a general level. And I know that being a college student, as I am right now, I have kind of a more unique view on how college students, how they are, like personal-wise, financial-wise, what it means to be a college student, and what it's like to kind of have to go make some sacrifices on the daily so that you can continue to be successful in college. Now, I know there are going to be several college students that have a lot worse than I do. And I know there's some college students that have better than I do. We are all blessed with and challenged with different challenges in our life. So sometimes it's just important that we take what we have in front of us and run with it. Anyways, getting back to the topic, I don't necessarily agree with collegiate athletes getting paid. There are a couple different reasons why, and I'm going to go over each individual reason why, so that you guys can kind of get an in-depth view on why I don't think that college athletes should be paid. Maybe not in the way that they're wanting to get paid, or maybe just not get paid at all. I'll explain. So the first kind of step in this is to kind of take a look into what colleges are receiving, their athletic programs are receiving money wise. So as many of you are well know that the athletic programs at schools have their own budget, they have their own revenue, they make their own money. They're not part of this. They're not part of the university, and they're their own separate. Well, they're part of the university, but with regards to their money and their revenue, are somewhat of a separate entity. So if I talk about University of Florida, University of Oregon, well, those kind of places, I'm talking about just the athletic programs, not the universities themselves. And so when focusing on just the athletic programs, many have recognized that athletic programs generally aren't, as a whole, don't make as much money as you would expect. They make quite a bit of money, but in total, as all the programs, don't make a ton of money. And a lot of the money, the revenue that is generated by colleges comes from college football. As it is one of the most popular sports, it's well documented that collegiate football is probably one of the higher revenue producing parts of any college, just in general. As many, it's watched nationwide, even worldwide. Their merchandise can be bought, can be purchased from the universities and from online stores, and different TV markets purchase the rights to show their TVs on their channels for quite a bit of money, and it generates a lot of revenue year in, year out. They generate quite a bit of revenue. However, as athletic programs in general, they don't necessarily generate a lot of money. There's several examples of this that I kind of wanted to document for you guys to kind of just give you guys an in-depth look, or give you guys a little bit a better view of this. So when we talk about, for example, at a university, let's talk about one that's really well known for their collegiate football, the University of Alabama. The University of Alabama has right now the top ranked football team in the country, and are probably most well known for their football team, for their collegiate football team, because they have so much success. They've won several national championships recently, and so on and so forth. So as a program, the University of Alabama Athletics makes, as most recently, and according to the website, in January-ish of 2019, University of Alabama has made $111.1 million in revenue for their athletic program in general. And more specifically in football, they make about $48.2 million in revenue. So of that $111.1 million, $48.2 million of that comes from football, about 43%-ish. Now, when I did this research, it shocked me a little bit, because I figured the percentage would be a little bit more. But in the end, you can see the great amount of chunk that is taken from that football, or the large chunk from that is made directly from football. To give you an idea, the other sporting programs, which make up the other 57-ish% of that, there are 22 other sports programs. 22. So one sport of the 22 is making 43% of the revenue that the entire athletic program has made. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money for one program to possess, right? And not even that. Diving further into that money, Of those 22 sports programs at the University of Alabama, only 3 of them are able to pay for themselves. Meaning that the money that they spend, they make up in the revenue. They make up in the revenue that they make. So only 3 of the 22 sports programs are able to do so, which is mind-boggling. Which means that those 3, and I'm gonna take a guess that one of those 2, or maybe 2 of those, or one of those 3, or 2 of those 3, is just passing by in the revenue that they spend and the revenue that they make. So imagine being in an athletic program where 3 sports are carrying the entire load to receive the revenue that they need for the entire program. That's insane. That's an insane amount of money that needs to be driven just from one sport. And as many of you know, as with businesses go, you need generally the most profitable portion of said business is going to receive more money. That's just how it goes. So while it may not be necessarily fair, that's why many programs, many other programs that are within the athletic program may ask, why aren't we getting new uniforms every year like football, or why aren't we getting stadium renovations every year like football or whatnot? Well, it's because it's a market-generated business. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of money that's being ingested, is coming in from the football program, and just the football program. Now, to kind of separate the two, going further down into this, we can already kind of tell that it's going to be kind of slanted a little bit one side if athletes were in order to get paid for what they do, because football players, based upon just capitalism mentality as we are in the United States, generally because they're generating more money, the football program, the people that are within the football program would make more money than any of the other programs, which of course wouldn't be fair for the other programs because they're not receiving the same amount of money as the other programs are. And the NCAA would need to regulate the amount of money each program would make. Now, going further into that, the University of Alabama currently has 22 sports programs. They have 17 total head coaches, 49 total assistant coaches, and they have a total of about 640 student athletes. That is a lot of people that will require payment in this new system, right? So if we were able to go further depth into this and go through the numbers of this and equally divide that $111.1 million, that would mean about that each person, whether they be coach, assistant coach, or student athlete, they would receive each $157,365.44. Sounds like a lot, and sounds really, really tempting to collegiate athletes, saying, "Oh yeah, that's fine. Let's just do that then. Let's just have everybody earn the same, and we all get the same." However, it's important to remember as well that a lot of that money also goes into the services that are provided for the team. So, any sort of new jerseys, I wouldn't say necessarily the stadium upgrades, because sometimes stadium upgrades are generated elsewhere, but that money comes from there as well. Any sort of things like food, any sort of free swag or anything else that these players receive, any room, board, scholarships, these things all get taken away, and that's the money that they're left with. Now, it still sounds pretty good, I would imagine, but at the end of the day, your programs would not benefit. Things like football and baseball and basketball, there'd be no reason to invest more money into those programs because they're not getting anything back out of it. And so these programs would start to fail because they don't have the money that's needed to help further improve what's on the field, or what's around the field, or what is the field, if I'm to be understood. But that's just one example. We can even go into things like, what about a school that, for example, is more well known for being a little bit more well balanced? For example, the University of Southern California, the USC Trojans. To give you an idea, they have 25 sports programs in total. They made that group, according to recently in 2018, they made about $116.9 million total as all this the athletic programs. Collegiate football itself made $60.1 million, or 51.41%. More than half of the revenue generated from the athletic programs came from football. And to dive more into the numbers of each individual program, there's 22 total head coaches, there are 59 total assistant coaches, and there are 678 student athletes. And so on average, each student would receive, if the money was spread out evenly as such, receive $154,018 per person. Again, it doesn't sound horrible. When you take away all those extra services, you don't have money to get put back into the program. You don't have things that help build the program and continue to have continued success within the program because you're not generating any extra revenue from it. And what would happen if, for example, we went to a bit of a smaller program? I use the example of my current college right now as the University of BYU, Brigham Young University, the BYU Cougars. They have 18 total sports programs, with it making about $53 million total as the total revenue for the sports programs. And on average, and football made $26.1 million revenue. So about almost 50% of that money came from football. Again, almost 50%. All these three are somewhat close to 50% of the money that they receive comes from football. And if we were to go back and go through and do each individual program, there's 20 head coaches, 44 assistant coaches, 717 student athletes, a lot more than both Alabama and USC. And so on average, each person within the program will receive $66,332.92. Again, a lot less than these other bigger programs. And it would only get smaller as you went further along the program line. So as an entity in whole, the NCAA would need to figure out a way to regulate this and to find a way to help them. And in the end of the day, collegiate athletes wouldn't make that much money from the total revenue that's being spent or the total revenue that's being made. So why they're fighting so hard for this, I don't quite understand. They'll look and they'll see big numbers like that and they'll say, well, this university is making a ton of money. Of course I can make that, or of course they can give me some of that. Or let's say they see like Nick Saban, who's the head coach at Alabama, well-known, nationally known head coach, who's making as of right now around $8 to $9 million a year, and they see that and they go, well, why can't I make that much money? Again, it's not. This is all a complex system that goes more into just how much money is being made and why aren't I getting any of that money. There's a lot more different things that need to be done. Investing in different sponsorships and renovations made and facilities being kept well and other programs being funded. I mean, a lot of these programs are only being funded with the money being generated from the revenue from football alone. I mean, you think of some of these other sports like lacrosse, like soccer, like cross country, track, heck, even rowing, even these other littler known sports. They're not making a ton of money, and there needs to be money spent into the program so that way people will keep going. So where's this money going to come from? From football. And at the end of the day, there's only one source this money's coming from. It's generally coming from football. So how is this going to be fair to anyone if only football makes that money, or they try to spend the money out for everyone But yet at the end of the day, they don't get anything, and the programs can't be funded. So that's just one big reason why this wouldn't work. Why this just doesn't make sense. You're gonna bankrupt universities. Like I've heard many people talk about the need to provide free schooling and to provide to help pay for these collegiate athletes and whatnot. But at the end of the day, things require money. You can't just do things for free and expect nothing, no repercussions from this. There's gonna be things that come from it, right? And as a collegiate athlete, just pure money wise, it's just not going to work out well. And even skipping on to the next part as well, collegiate athletes already receive quite a bit of money. Now they're not receiving it in the ways that they think that they are, but they're already receiving quite a bit of money. For example, as students go, or as collegiate athletes go along, as many of you may know, they had the chance to receive scholarships as being a student athlete and being able to play for the team, which is awesome, which is amazing for them. Each person gets the opportunity to play for the university they want, or the university that offers them the scholarship. That's great. It pays for their college. That's wonderful. In many cases, even majority of the colleges will provide or majority of the scholarships will provide for them other things, such as maybe the books that they need for their classes, maybe room and board, the food that they eat because they're there spending most of the time with the program, maybe the other free things that they receive, such as jerseys or team apparel or whatever it may be, right? So each athlete already receives quite a bit of compensation for the effort that they give. For example, going back to our University of Alabama, on average, University of Alabama gave male athletes $16,781 on average, right? It fluctuates for different situations, and on average, it gave female athletes $15,899. So relatively close. There is a bit of a difference there, but it's relatively close, right? For each person, they make around $16,000 in related student aid, which goes to paying for the college itself, for paying board and whatnot, and providing these other necessities for these people, which is awesome for them. But they don't see that. They don't see the money going directly into their pockets, and therefore think, well, I'm not getting anything for doing this. I'm just sacrificing my body. And while it's true, they're going out there and they are truly immersing themselves in the game, and there's a good chance they could get hurt. But that's the best part about that is each university has their own medical team that is able to help them out, and they're already receiving quite a bit of money for the work that they're doing. They don't think they're getting money for what they're doing, but at the end of the day, they're still receiving things like money and food, or they're still receiving things like free college, free books, free room, free food. These things are already being paid for them, but because they don't get the money in their accounts, they don't have that extra money to spend. So they're like, well, you know what? I'm not getting money for this. Which by no means isn't true. As a college student, I'm blessed to have help from my parents, and I'm blessed to have the things that I have in my life to be able to come here to BYU and be able to study here. And I know there's several people that have it better than I do, that maybe have full scholarships and their parents and the money or whatnot, and also the people that have worse situations than I do, that have to work every day in order to pay off their the tuition fees and the rent and whatever else they need to pay. And there's a wide spectrum of college students. But I think the one thing that's the most important to all this is to realize that we're not getting paid. I'm not getting paid for being a college student. I'm having to go out and sacrifice my time in order to pay for the things that I want, in order to purchase the things that I need for food, for gas, for whatever else it may be. It's the same situation for those above me. They're still, generally some of them are still working. And those that aren't as fortunate as I am are also having to pay for the things they want, for tuition, for whatever else. And so for us, it's part of the experience of college, is learning how to get out on your own and to go and get things for your own and learn that process of work in order to receive the things that we want. It should be the same thing for collegiate athletes. The only difference that makes them between us is the fact that they're playing a sport on the side and they get free stuff for it. I spend every day going to classes, and I work most days. And I try to go out and have a social life as well. That's a lot of things having to juggle in between one hand or juggle in the time that I have. And I understand that these collegiate athletes are sacrificing a lot of their time. But that was a decision that they made coming into this. Which kind of brings me into my last point, is that at the end of the day, collegiate athletes decided to do this. They made this choice. They made the choice that they were going to play at a university and sacrifice their time for a chance to play for their team they grew up watching or growing up when they were younger, to win a national championship, to get to the NFL or to professional sports, whatever it is. Athletes knew coming in that they were going to potentially receive money and potentially receive a scholarship that will pay off their university fees to come play collegiate sports. So for them, they came in knowing full well this is the sacrifice they're going to have to make. And those people that will go out there and complain and say, well, you know what, they don't know about the sacrifice they need to make. Well, that's the sacrifice that you should know. Right? I understand there's not a ton of options for some people that don't have a ton of money, but it is an option though. And just because you're not receiving any extra money for it doesn't mean you're not gonna. It doesn't mean that you can't go out and still sacrifice more. So at the end of the day, it's an effort thing, in my book. It's something that, as an athlete, I understand there's a lot of things that you need to sacrifice. I understand there's a lot of things that go into your life that may make it difficult for you to pay off those things. But it's all about a risk play. If you didn't think it was worth the risk, well, you know what? The door was always there for you. You could have walked off the team. You could have went and got a job, and you could have started working so you could have paid off your college. There was nothing stopping you from doing that. The only thing that was stopping you was you. The only thing that was stopping you was that opportunity to play for a collegiate team. And a perfect example of something that of this idea that I saw was with Tim Tebow, who got absolutely destroyed on social media for some of the comments that he made. He came out and told people that he came to play college football fully knowing the sacrifice that it would take, because he wanted to provide that fame and glory back to the University of Florida. That was his goal. He wanted to go out and win a national championship and bring home the glory to Florida. Whatever else came beyond that point was unknown to him. But he wanted to do it because he felt it was his duty, his role on this earth. And little did he know, I'm sure at the time, way before he went to University of Florida, that he would lead several national championship teams, that he himself, his jersey would become one of the highest selling jerseys. I read that it was somewhere in like the top 3 most selling jerseys back in 2008, 2009. And And little did he know that he'd get the chance to play in the NFL. But that was always a possibility that could happen. But what was the sacrifice made at the beginning? That he was going to dedicate his time, and that he was going to put in the effort, and that whatever happens, happens. But he just wanted to help out his college. And many players called him out, telling him, well, you're rich and entitled. You came from parents that were wealthy, so you don't know what it truly means to struggle. That's not the point of this. That's not the point of what a college athlete is. He's a college athlete. He's not a professional athlete. He's not doing this for the money. That's what the whole professional part is doing it professionally, meaning you're doing it for money. As of right now, I am a college student. And I am in the major of communications going into sports broadcasting journalism. Because I do sports broadcasting journalism stuff here at college, doesn't mean I'm getting paid for it. Regardless if it becomes popular or not. Regardless if this podcast becomes the most popular in the country or it doesn't. I'm not going to receive money for this. I'm just doing it for the love of broadcasting and for the experience. And it's the same thing that Tim Tebow did. He could have received all that money from his jersey sales alone. And he probably wouldn't have a need to play in the NFL from all the money he probably could have made off of just those jerseys. But he didn't. Because he did it for the love of the game. And he did it because beyond making money, he was a college athlete at heart. And because he knew that there was always going to be sacrifices in the middle. And that if that chance were to come, that he were to go to the NFL, that he'd make money for it. But the goal of college in general is to prepare us for the professional level, to become part of society. Each person has to go through the stages of learning, from elementary school to middle school to high school to college. And each individual level, you need to cross each individual level in order to get to the professional level. And each person is going to sacrifice their time. If we look at doctors, they spend years in college. They spend anywhere between 8 to 12 years studying and go way into debt. And people ask why? Because afterwards, they can make a ton of money for the jobs that they're doing, and they get to help out people. It's all risk and reward. Your risk as a collegiate athlete is the reward of being able to play professionally, whether they be football, baseball, basketball, swimming, soccer, whatever else it is. Your dream as a collegiate athlete was to go professional. In high school, it was to go to college, to play as a college team, and then play in the NFL. Even when you were younger, you wanted to grow up into the system and reach the next level. And that's where the risk reward comes in. So, to wrap this up, I want to make this clear. I am in full support of supporting collegiate athletes. I know there's people out there, I know there's athletes out there that are struggling. I know there's athletes out there that find it hard to make the dedication of the time and don't know if they're going to make ends meet while they're at college. There's a lot of people that go through those struggles, not just athletes. And at the end of the day, it's important that you remember the risks and the reward that you take. You may not make the professional level. You may not become a doctor. I may not become a play-by-play analyst in the future. But that's the risk and reward we take. Because at the end of the day, this is all preparation. And it is no means professional yet. So unless we want to begin paying collegiate athletes and high school athletes and elementary athletes for making the same risks to their body, then we don't need to start with collegiate. Just keep it in professional. If you have the luck to get to the professional level someday, I applaud you. Make that money that comes from that. If not, it's all right. There's people out there that don't fully achieve their greatest dreams possible. But But it's important that we continue to achieve other dreams as well, that we have other goals. So that way, if something doesn't work out the way we want, that we're still able to achieve greater heights. So that people that may have wanted to be professional athletes can still become doctors or can still become go into other professions. So thank you guys so much for your time. This was just an opportunity to kind of just spread out my feelings on what I felt about collegiate athletes getting paid. Let me know how you guys feel about what I said today. To all my college athlete friends out there, I love you. Keep working hard. To all my college friends out there, keep working hard. And I know that you'll be able to achieve what you guys want in life with the hard work and dedication, risk reward. Always remember that. So, all right, guys, just don't forget to tune in next time on the Dot Network. I'm gonna try and get you guys more podcasts like this, and hopefully you guys will be able to continue to tune in. So, thank you guys so much. Hope you all have a great day, and you have been listening to the Dot Network. And that is all the time that we have, and we hope we get to catch you next time on the Dot Network.